Hi everybody, it is Tuesday. Tuesday chat time. Alright, I'm just checking this all looks good. It's been a few weeks. Making sure my comments are going to come up, which is looking good. Hopefully you can hear me all good. And I should be coming in on both the Creative Barnes Premium Tier group and also the Drawing Wildlife and Nature group. So let me know if you're here and you can hear me okay. It always takes a minute for everyone to get on. Awesome, thanks Deb. So as you all know, I've been away a couple of weeks in Tasmania doing my art retreat, which both groups were amazing. It was the best fun, and can't wait to do it again next year. So there won't be many spaces available because a lot of the guys choose to come back because it is just so much fun down there. But I will definitely very shortly post up a wait list. So if you are interested in joining me in Tasmania next March for the art retreat, you can go on the wait list and then it'll be, first in, first served sort of thing. But I'm thinking there'll be about 5 spaces available, I think, over the 2 weeks. It could even be a few more, but we'll see. So anyone in my membership gets first preference on those spaces, and then it goes out to everyone else. So bear with me for now, and I'll get that all sorted and get a wait list going. And then I'll be able to figure out pricing and all of that, which at this point it's exactly the same as it was this year. So, all right. So Tuesday chat, like I said, I had a couple of weeks off while I was in Tassie because I was teaching there, so I couldn't get on here. But we were talking about pricing your work, I suppose. But the last Tuesday chat, I was talking more about valuing your work, as in, you know, um, it's worth more than what a lot of people starting out may think. Okay, so make sure you put a higher value on it than what I know. A lot of times we start off with paint for our friends, we do commissions, everyone wants it for free, and then you say, all right, $50 or $100 covers your pricing. But I think what I was talking about last time was just knowing that your work is worth more than that as you get better and better, of course, because art is a skill and not everyone can do it. I always say everyone can do it, which they can learn it, but not everyone wants to learn it. They don't have the patience, and they sometimes put artists on a higher pedestal because it's not something they would spend the time learning. So definitely just like I was trying to get across, just make sure you value it. Oh, Di's just there for a few minutes. You're off to meet Helene. Awesome. Hope you two have a great day if you're going for coffee or something. Um, yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I know Dad's driving and watching. Awesome. Okay, well, you guys in my membership, we have in the Rooster module, in the premium tier, a whole thing on pricing, but this is, I thought I would share it on here a little bit more about it. Hi, Jeanette, as well. So, like I said, last time I was talking about valuing your work. This week, I thought we would talk about actually pricing it because it is hard. A lot of people have no idea, especially if they're first, you've been painting away, getting better and better, and then all of a sudden someone wants to buy your work and you have no idea what to charge. So I think that first one is always the one you're really uncertain of. Sorry, I'm just getting up some of my notes here. Okay, so it can be very challenging, but I think once you sort of can understand ways to price it, it can become a lot easier, especially once you start selling a couple of pieces. Kind of sets a price for you. So first things to think about though when you're talking about pricing is a good idea is to research comparable artwork. So look at what similar artworks by artists with a similar level of experience and reputation are selling for. So it can give you a bit of a baseline of your own work. And when I say that, not see if they're actually selling for that. Some people may list prices, but it might not be selling for that. So a good way to go would be to go into maybe your art gallery, and if there's any red dots on any of the work, you can sort of have a look at it and see if you think they're about the same skill level as you, and help that way. There's also online there's online art shops. I can't think of any at the moment. No, I can't think of any, but they're like an online gallery. So they quite often will show sold works as well, and it can give you an idea. You can look at the size, the medium, the technique, all of that, and sort of see how yours sit in that. So definitely do some research first. Inside a group like our membership, we quite often can share and ask questions in there. So maybe if you're not sure, you could also go to different Facebook groups that might share as well with what they're selling for. But make sure it's prices that they're actually selling their artwork for, and not just some figure they're pulling out of their head. Okay. So also main thing is consider your expenses. So you definitely have to calculate the cost of your materials, and other expenses involved in creating that art that we all forget about. Like if you had to rent a studio, of course, equipment costs, your electricity in your studio, all those sort of little things you're not really thinking about. Your phone maybe, because when you think of it as a business, it's a bit easier to think of those expenses that are sort of hidden, I suppose. It's not just the art, paper, and material. It's all those other things that go into it as well, especially if it is a business, and say it's a pet portrait business, and your advertising, there's costs involved in that as well, of course. So if you go to a market store regularly, you've got all your market store fees, all of those costs involved should be represented in the price of your art. Okay, so and then of course your time, which that's once I've gone through these, I'll give you two ways that you can actually price your work. So time is one, so an hourly rate is one, but we'll get to that at the end. Okay, so also you need to evaluate your skill level and experience, of course. So as a beginner artist, you may not be able to command the prices that someone who's more established is. So that's like when you're doing your research, make sure you are comparing yourself to others in that same sort of experience. And also, I suppose, the uniqueness of your style as well, as to others, because sometimes you might be a beginner, but you might just have really developed a great style and have found something that people love, so that could put your prices up as well. And then also when you're starting, of course, you want to start with small increases as you're going. So like I said, usually we all start by doing paintings for family or friends, and keep our prices very low. But as you're going, you need to start increasing those prices, of course. As you get more experience, of course, your prices should go up as well, and as you get more recognition too. But just beware you don't get caught in the whole pet, especially I'm talking from an animal artist. You get a lot of friends and family that start to want you to do their dog or their cat, and if you start off doing it for free for, say, your close friends, but then all of a sudden you've got a lot of friends and a lot of family members coming out of the woodwork, and they're all wanting it for free. Straight away, if you've got a lot of that happening, then you need to set a price and stop doing them for free. And I would, even $100, it covers your expenses, but it'll weed out. You'll have quite a lot fall off your wait list then that are expecting it for free. So definitely, because it is your time, and I know everyone says, oh, but it's the experience and all of this, but still, I think you can do it for free for a couple of people, but uh, you know, others take advantage, and you need to actually set yourself some goals there. Okay. So another one is consider the size and the medium of the artwork. So larger artwork pieces, of course, should be more expensive, and also depending on what you're using in those, what materials. So some materials are a lot more expensive than others. I feel like as a pastel artist, ours are pretty expensive. But when I mean, I suppose all of the standard mediums are pretty much the same. But say if you work in gold leaf, maybe, then you have to take into account that that's going to be a higher material cost there as well. I've seen some oil painters that they'll pretty much use really thick and pastel type of work that they've used like 10 tubes of oil paint in one painting. So that type of work, of course, is going to be higher price because the material cost is a lot more as well. So, and also as an artist, if you want to sell your work, make sure you are using the highest quality artist material you can get. Something that's, of course, like light fast, non-yellowing, all of that sort of stuff. Okay, because if you want your work to be well received and regarded sort of highly, you need to make sure that it's going to last their lifetime. Okay, so no, it's all right to start with when you're practicing to use some cheaper stuff, but everyone knows how I feel about that. You make your job a lot harder. I would start straight away with the right paper and pastels because you won't get frustrated then. Anyway, so yeah, so another thing, like I said, is the size if it's larger and the type of materials. Always take that into account. And also, I suppose some paintings or techniques can be more labor intensive than others. So, we're pretty lucky with pastels. We could sit down and do a whole painting in one sitting. Whereas, say, if you're working in oils and building up a lot of layers, that can take months because you need to let each layer dry, of course. So that's why I think oils do command a higher price half the time. I already said this one about factoring the overhead and business costs. So, like I said, that was like your electricity and all that, but also your marketing, your packaging, and shipping. So, depending on your pricing, you can have it as a set price plus package and shipping, of course, or you can include it in the price. And that also goes with framing as well. So you can sell your work just as is, unframed, or I always feel it if you're asking a high price, framed always makes the artwork appear, twice as well price sort of thing. I don't know. A good frame really elevates the piece of work. So even though framing can be expensive, when you think of it over like say if I did a large painting and I know I can sell my larger work for around that $2,400, um, the frame really makes it. If I tried to sell the piece unframed, I feel like unframed the price should be about 2,000, but I think I would be, um, you know, struggling to sell an unframed piece for that sort of price. Whereas the minute it's framed, straight away I can see that value in it. So up to you how you work your pricing structure. Usually with pet portraits, I'll give an unframed price and a framed price on top. But a lot of people like to frame their own because especially their pet portraits, because they want it to match the rest of their house. and other pieces maybe they've got hanging on the wall. But yeah, so definitely, again, the package and shipping can be really expensive, so make sure, I would probably always have that as an add-on. So this is the price of the artwork, and then if someone is interested and wants to buy it, then you can work out where they live and work out your shipping then, of course. Okay. Trans. Be transparent and consistent. Okay, so if you're showing, I can talk. I don't actually even have a shop, but if you set up a shop and you're advertising on Facebook for your work and everything, make sure your prices are pretty clear on your website, social media, at art exhibitions, all the rest. So be clear with what the price is. Be strong on that price, I suppose, as well. Be confident with that price, and also being consistent in your pricing also avoids confusion. So what I mean by that is I'm, again, my own worst enemy. So as you can see behind me, I've got a bit of a mess behind me because I haven't finished unpacking from Tasmania. But I have a lot of different size paintings because I just paint to what size I kind of feel the picture needs to be. But that can become a problem when framing, and also can be a problem and confusing for buyers. Ideally, you could have some set sizes that you work in. So you might do small, medium, large, or you might just do a small and a large, but stick to those sizes. So if you like working really large, which I do, work your price out on a large piece, but then, so try and make most of your large pieces the same size, but then have a smaller size, because not everyone can afford thousands. So have a set smaller size that you work on. So that might be 300 square, 200 square, A4, A3, whatever you think, but make all of your smaller work that same size and can then be the same price. Okay, or you might end up having, say, three sizes. So you might do sort of that A4, A3, and then large, but have them all as a set price. So you might start off as your A3 sizes. It helps with framing too, because then you can just swap and change frames. And I think is a smarter way to work, and it's something I know myself I should be starting to think about. But maybe the smaller work could be, let's say, an A4 size could be your smaller, which is about 20 by 30 centimeters. And maybe you make those all $500 frames, something like that. So they're all that price, or whatever you choose. And then your A3 could be 900, 800, whatever. And then your larger work, a couple of thousand. But people know when they're looking on your site that your small work is all that price. So it doesn't matter what picture they're buying, it is that price. So it avoids a lot of confusion. Whereas, like I said, mine, I have prices all over the place, and so every single piece is usually a different price. So I'm trying to keep them more uniform now, but yeah, as you can see behind me, they're everywhere. So okay, and that also calls into your pricing tiers, of course. So, like I said before, not everyone can afford a large piece. So, by doing a few smaller pieces, they're less expensive. Of course, you can get them done quicker, and you'll have more clients, I suppose. Okay, so the other thing as well to think about is demand and market trends. So if your art is in high demand, your style, and there's growing interest in that subject matter, then you might be able to bring your prices up. So say if you're a pet portrait artist and you have a wait list, once your wait list sort of reaches 6 months to a year, depending how many you do, like you might do one a month and say you've got 6 people on a wait list, so roughly 6 months, you can start to confidently put your price up, knowing that that wait list, and you'll find the wait list will drop off. So the people already on your wait list, you might say, well, they still get it at that price, but anyone new joining, these are your prices, and you'll soon figure out if you have a constant wait list. You'll find the sweet spot, I suppose, because as you put your prices up, that wait list won't be as long, and then you can just work it out from that wait list whether you're too high, too low, all that sort of thing. Okay, so that's a good way to figure out sort of your pricing as well. Also, maybe be open in negotiation, especially on larger pieces. Sometimes you can negotiate with them. And another thing as well, don't forget to take into account if you're selling in a art competition or at a gallery, you've got to factor in they're usually anywhere up to 50% commission. So they all vary. So you need to check the what their sort of guidelines are, but don't ever forget that, because that's a huge chunk that comes out. And of course, as a business, you have tax as well on this. Okay, and you could also test the market and see what price point resonate with your audience. So like I said, the smaller ones you might sell more of, so maybe that's where you want to focus doing more work. You could do surveys, all that sort of stuff on social media. And then you could ask for feedback, of course, from fellow artists or mentors, or potential buyers. You can, don't be scared to send out emails and that to people asking what their thoughts are on the pricing. Okay, so 2 ways to price your work. So that's all the things I've just rattled off to think about. But to make it a bit easier, I work mine out on a square inch, and there's also the hourly rate. Okay, so a square inch price can make it very easy to price all your work. Okay, once you've sort of figured out what your square inch price is, then you can break all your paintings down into that sort of size, and times it by your price, and that gives you, times it by your square inch, and that gives you your price. Okay, but that's easier when you've already sold work. So I sold a large piece early on for 2,400. So that kind of set my price, because I couldn't come down because that would devalue it for the buyer, of course. So your prices should go up, not come the other way. So and I've since sold many at that price point. So it was easy for me to figure that out. So I just divided it by, hold on, so all you need to do is you measure your artwork by the inches. I know we work metric here, but inches is easier because it's a nice big chunk. So it's like 2.5 centimeters square. So measure it in inches and then times the side by the width, and that gives you how many square inches are in your piece. Okay, so mine was 28 by 20 inches, and then I times that together, I got 560. So there was 560 square inches in my piece, and once I took the frame and delivery off, the piece was worth about 2,000. Okay, so divide the 2,000 by 560, and it gives me $3.57 a square inch. So now when I have a smaller piece, I can work out, all right, so it's maybe 10 inches by 10 inches. So I can times that. That'd be 100 square inches in that piece, and at $3.57 a square inch, that piece would be worth $357. Okay, so it sort of gives you the set price there to work on anything, and you can adjust this, of course, it's not set in stone. You might work it out on your square inch price and then go, oh no, that's too low or too high, up to you. But try and stick with that sort of thing. I know it doesn't quite work exactly when you get down to really small pieces, but the larger pieces it works quite well on. So we had one of the ladies in the retreat sold one of her pieces, and she hadn't sold anything before. So she works it out this way. It gives her a price point in the future, and then as you get better and gain more experience, of course, you can put this square inch price up. Her piece was $300 unframed, and it was just around that A4, a little bit bigger. So it was about 9 by 13, so 9 inches across, 13 up. So you times 13 by 9, and it gave the amount of square inches in the piece, which I didn't write down. So then with that amount, you divide the $300 that she got for the piece by that amount, and it ended up at $2.56. So, and that works out quite fine because she's more of a beginner. So her price probably wouldn't be normally as high per inch as, say, mine. But, I mean, everyone's different. If you've sold a piece and you feel you were happy with the price you got, then I would work on that. And then in future, yeah, your pricing, you can times it by your square inch price, and just you'll feel if it feels right. Okay, but it's a great way to get started without getting that really nervous, like, oh my god, someone's asked to buy my work, I have no idea what to charge. So I wouldn't go much lower than that $2.56 per square inch. So that was, it was $300 for about an A4 unframed. So I think that's a really great pricing point to get started at. So maybe have a go yourself and measure some of your art and put it at, say, around that $2.50 a square inch, and see what price it comes out as, and see how you feel about that. Okay, so, and then the other way is the hourly rate, which this one I feel, it's, I don't know, I suppose it's all right when you're first starting out because you're taking longer. So it's just hard because you get quicker as you go. When I'm looking for an hourly rate, I went on to over here in Australia, we have what's called NAVA. So it's the visual arts, I think it's visualarts.net.au, but they have, for those in my membership in the Rooster module, we have a link to this, but they have a guideline for all art workers. So that's everything from someone working in a gallery to photographers to anything in the art field, creative arts. It's all in there, and it's a guideline. Okay, so it's the only standard you have to stick to is you can't go below minimum wage, which minimum wage, I think, where did I write? Did I write that down? I think minimum wage was around $23 or so an hour here in Australia. So you can't go below that, of course. But otherwise, it's just a standard. I don't think we have a proper award thing with, the tax department, the award wages, all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure, but NAVA gives you a guide, and roughly a mid-career artist, they say would be on average around that. I think it's around $51 or $52 an hour. Okay, so you can work your pricing per hour off that. If you're starting to sell your work, I would say you're a mid-career artist. You're sort of out of that beginner stage. So I would probably work on around that $50 an hour. But so for me, say if I did a pet portrait, which I usually charge around that $500, they take me about 10 hours to do. So at $50 an hour, it's $500. Um, so that sort of works out all right. But and as you get quicker, your price can remain that, but I might now get a pet portrait done in 6 hours. My hourly wage then essentially has gone up because I'm still getting $500 for a pet portrait, and it's only taken me 7 hours instead of 10. Okay, so you can work an hourly wage if that's something you prefer to do. But I quite like, because that can fluctuate a lot, I don't know, I quite like the per inch. Yeah, Jeanette, it is very hard to keep track of the time. That's the other thing. With an hourly rate, you probably need to set a clock or take a note of the time you've spent, which I know we all forget to do that, because I know I do. I just a lot of times I can figure out how many hours it's taken because I'm recording a lot of my tutorials, so that's how I can figure it out. But if not, of course, if you haven't sort of written down when you started and finished, then you sort of lose track as well. So I don't know. Some people use the hourly rate, but I don't know that. I'm a fan of it, essentially. So yeah, you need to. It's not an exact science, but hopefully by thinking about all the things I was talking about, all the different things to take into account when you are pricing your work, um, then I've given you two solid ways to actually price. So with that square inch price and the hourly rate, this will be put into a blog post, so you can read it, and I'll make sure I sort of have the formula there so it's a bit easier to understand. But they're two really good ways to get started. So hopefully that knocks out any confusion. Karen, do you provide packaging for safe transport when a purchase is made in person, like at a show? Yeah, if I'm at a well, if someone purchases from a gallery, they should have bubble wrap and stuff there anyway. But if I'm at a market and sell, I always make sure I have a lot of bubble wrap to wrap up my artworks for them to take home as well. And then, of course, if they're buying from me online and I'm shipping, I make sure I bubble wrapped, put it in a box as well. Packaging, because if it's a quite an expensive purchase, even if it's not expensive, you still want them to feel like they've bought something of value. So definitely, and it's hard when you've got to bubble wrap everything with postage, but a nice, cardboard box, maybe some tissue paper. You're still going to need some bubble wrap. Usually you've got to tape the glass too. There's all these things, but I used to use, and I would still use them, I just haven't sent any artwork anywhere lately, but it was International Art Couriers, I think they're called. IA, it's in Australia, but they are, that's it, that's all they transport is art, and their truck has all of these bars in it, and every piece is standing up, and you know how important it is with pastel, that it's not shaken or tipped over or anything. So I always sent my artwork to my customers, and I'd tell them they were roughly 250 anywhere in Australia to send. So when I made a purchase, I told them that's how much it was for them, and yeah, for postage. And if they're paying $2,000 for a painting, then they're more than happy to then pay $250 to make sure it gets there perfectly. So in that case, you can package it really nicely because it's just standing up and being delivered straight to their door. So you probably could go easy on the tape on the glass and the bubble wrap a bit less, but just maybe think about making it the presentation nice as well. Jane, at what point should you become a business? How much can you earn before you need to become a business? Well, I think it's probably like most things here in Australia. You can earn, I think, is it up to 19,000 a year without having to pay tax. So I would probably work on that. You definitely need to. I'm not a tax person, so I can't offer advice, but I know if um, you can earn that much tax free. Um, it also probably earning that. I'm not sure how it goes when if you're on the pension or anything as well, or you're receiving any government benefit. That might alter it as well. Um, but I probably I went to as a sole trader to start with, um, and now I once you earn over, I think it's 75,000 a year. I think, don't quote me on that. You have to be registered for GST. Okay, so but to start off with, I wouldn't probably bother too much as a business to start with. Um, but you can register as a sole trader. I don't think it costs you anything and get an ABN. Um, but yeah, it depends what you want to do. I think if you're just learning, um, I certainly had to go down that path because I started teaching. Okay, so that's where I was, yeah, it became a business essentially. But when I was just selling my work, because I wasn't selling, it was more, I was working a full time job. So when I was creating paintings and selling, um, it was more of a, I would call it a hobby than a business. So, and I was already working full time. So it wasn't until, yeah, I left that, like we sold that business and then started this one. And once I saw that I was starting to make money from it, then I needed to become a business. But yeah, definitely, if you're thinking that you want to grow it to that, then maybe get on the tax website and look up sole traders and look up. We did have this discussion actually, Jane, in the membership on one of the art chats. We were talking about this, but look up what changes. There's a thing in the tax department website about business to hobby. When do you change from a hobby to a business? They've got a whole thing about it, and yeah. So I just can't remember offhand what we're talking about. It was probably a good 6 months or more ago. But in the art chats, if you get into that module, the rooster module, and have a look. Oh no, it's not the rooster. Sorry, I'm probably confusing everyone that's not in my membership, but Jane, yeah, it's in the inside the studio. I think all the recordings of the art chats, and one of them might have it listed there. Um, so yeah, or just do a search maybe. But yeah, definitely look it up. Don't take any of my tax advice. So yeah, but hopefully that clears it up. I think when you're first starting out, that you've got a lot of leeway before you need to start. I think that they now I'm thinking about it. I think the tax department has more or less, if you're selling your work for more than what the costs involved are, um, then you need to start thinking about it as a business because you're making an income. Um, so, but when I say costs, take into account all the costs involved, not just your artwork costs. Like we said earlier, there's, all the costs involved in your studio and all of that sort of stuff, your marketing, everything. Um, so it's not, we might go, oh, but our costs are only $50, but your costs are probably, more like 100, 200 you could probably bring into it. So, so yeah, but get on and read that. It was all to do with, yeah, where you're, yeah, whether you're making money or not. And it didn't cost, I'm positive it costs nothing to become a sole trader and get an ABN. I don't believe there was a cost involved there. But and again, you're at the, like I said, you can still earn 19,000, I think, tax free. Anyway, so all right. Okay, but like I said, don't take my advice on that. Just go and research. All right, guys. I hope this has helped you if you have been stuck on what to charge. Um, Definitely have a go at that square inch or think about an hourly rate. Um, and yeah, just go if you've sold a piece, think about what you sold it for, and not just a piece you've sold for $50 to a family member. Sold a piece to a stranger maybe, or it could have been a friend, but a piece that you were happy with the price you got for it. Okay, then work out your square inch on that one, and then like I said, you can adjust that. But I wouldn't go below $2.50 a square inch for an unframed piece. Okay, so the square inch, work on unframed for that. And then of course, when you do get your price, and you're framing it, then you add your framing and your shipping on top of that square inch price. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I'm back on board until May. May, I'm heading to Scotland, so we'll have a couple of weeks break then as well. But for now, Tuesday Chat is back on each week. I have no idea what I'm talking about next week, but I'll figure it out before we get there. And yeah, thanks for joining me. And like I said, I'll get this put into a blog post, so you've got something to actually look at, and yeah, revise, go back through, and get some tips from. All right, guys, have a great day, and or night, or wherever you are, what time zone you are, and I'll see you next Tuesday. For those in my membership, some of you I'll see tomorrow for our creative play session. Okay, bye guys.